Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zita, and on my channel I share with you DIYs and makeovers on a budget. And don't forget to follow me over on my socials at Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and Etsy. So let's get started on today's DIYs. So this is my third video of my fall video series, and for this first DIY I'm going to be making a wooden box centerpiece with some wine decanters in it and some florals. So my first step here, I'm going to spray paint these wine decanters. Make sure you have your mask and your safety glasses on, guys. So I'm going to be spraying this in a Rust-Oleum flat white paint, and then I'll be giving it a sealant after the paint has dried. So here I have a wooden box that I picked up from the thrift store. It did have a lid because I think it held some local wine. So I took the lid off and I'm just going to use the box portion. I'm using Rust-Oleum white linen chalk paint. And I did give this box a couple of coats of paint. So here I found some fall napkins at the dollar store with some sunflowers and some pumpkins on them. And this was a 2-ply napkin, so I just peeled back the bottom layer and was left with the pumpkin and sunflower layer. And then I just ripped that image out with my fingers. But you can also use a little artist brush with some water and go around the image. But I didn't have it on hand here at the workstation, so I just used my fingers and ripped it around, and it still gives it that natural look. But you do have to be a little more careful when you're doing it with your ripping it with your fingers. Doesn't that look awesome? Such a cute little fall image. So then I center it up on my wooden box, and I'm going to use some Mod Podge to seal that down onto the wooden box, and then put another layer of Mod Podge on the top. I'm using an old makeup brush here that I had on hand. It's nice and soft, so it doesn't rip the napkin when you put the Mod Podge on top. And I start my Mod Podge in the center out, and then worked on the other side, doing the same thing from the center out. Doesn't that look awesome, guys? So what I'm going to do on each side, I'm going to put some words from this calendar that I had on hand that says thankful and blessed. So I'm just going to put that on with some graphite paper, or carbon paper as some people call it. Any of you guys remember using this graphite paper as a kid? So I'm going to rip that page out of the calendar and then just place the words where I want on each side of the box, and then I'm going to put the carbon paper underneath and go over it with a pencil. And once the pencil is on there, I'm going to go over that with a paint marker. And my black paint marker was running out here, guys, so I had a Sharpie on hand. I didn't have any more black paint markers, so that works well too. So if you guys don't have a black paint marker on hand, you can also use a black Sharpie. Works better if you have a fine tip black Sharpie instead of like a thicker tip. Especially for this lettering, it was a skinny kind of font. What do you think, guys? You guys like the fall napkins with the pumpkins and the sunflowers? And what do you think of this thankful and blessed font? Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. So here I'm just putting some orange sunflowers that I got at the dollar store, and I'm just using some styrofoam to put those in. Then I'm just giving the box sanding to distress it a little bit. Started out with a fine sandpaper, but I went to a little coarser one to get some of that chalk paint off down to the wood. After I sanded it, I just wiped it away and then gave it a top coat to finish it off. For this next DIY, I'm going to be working on 3 wooden signs. I had 3 wood blocks here that I used to do signs for Canada Day. So I'm just going to use the other side and create 3 fall signs. And right here I'm using a Fusion coal black paint to paint the larger wooden sign and the medium size, and then the smaller wooden block I do in a green. So here I'm using a Hello Fall sign that I picked up from a local seller. I just wanted to try out this transfer tape that she had on there, the paper transfer tape. Have any of you guys use this paper transfer tape? So right here I'm measuring where I want the stencil to go, just centering it up. I did cut the stencil in half. Once I have it centered, I'm just gonna place some painter's tape down there on the sign, just so I know where I need to put the stencil when I lift them up to take off the backing. So right here now I'm just peeling off the paper transfer tape, and I'm going to do that on an angle. Just burnishing it down here first. Just peel it off at an angle. And I'm just going to press that down with my fingers and burnish it some more. And I'm going to do the same thing with the second piece. Right here I'm using a white interior paint that I had on hand, and I'm using a sponge from the dollar store, and this is a dent sponge that I find works really well for stenciling, and I just pounce up and down, and I believe I did 2 coats on this stencil. And right here I'm just using some leaf stencil that I had on hand. I'm just placing it in each corner, and I'm going to also stencil that in a white, and then I'm going to apply some antiquing wax to darken it up because I thought it was a little too stark white. And I'm going to do this in both corners of the sign. Right here I'm just adding a little bit of green paint on the leaves for some dimension. And then I'm just peeling back the vinyl, and I'm going to weed out the vinyl from the lettering. And right here I'm just giving the sign some touch up where I went outside the lines on the stencil, and right here I'm applying the antiquing wax to give it more of a blended fall looking color. What do you think, guys? Nice and simple, but still looks really beautiful. For this next little sign, I'm going to be doing some leaf stamping. This didn't exactly turn out the way I wanted it. It wasn't bright enough on the green, but it still looked decent. So I'm going to show you how I did this anyway. So right here I'm applying the rust color ink to the leaf stamp, and these are IOD stamps. So I have it on some thin mount there, and I'm just applying some pressure when I apply the stamp. Now, as you can see here, the first coat was very light, so I did kind of go over the top of it to darken it up a bit, and this is the outcome. It's very subtle looking, and I just let that ink dry for a day before applying the top coat. And for this last sign, again, I'm using an image from a calendar that I had on hand, and around this pumpkin are some words that I used to put on the sign, and I also used carbon paper again, applied it with the pencil, and then took the pencil off, and then used my white paint marker to fill in the words. So there you can see the pencil from the words. So now I'm going to fill that in with the white paint marker. And that white paint marker shows up really nice on the black background. So for this next DIY, I'm going to do some fall coasters. I picked these up at the Habitat Restore. I believe I paid 50 cents a piece for each of them. And right here I'm going to put some felt protectors on the bottom of the coasters to protect against any scratches on furniture. So right here I'm using some IOD stamps, and I'm going to be stamping 2 leaves on these coasters today. One is going to be in a rust color and one is going to be in a green color. And if you haven't used these stamps before, guys, if you're getting them new, you'll need to go over them with a fine sandpaper before you apply your ink. So right here I'm using the green ink on the larger leaf, and then on the smaller leaf I'll be using the rust colored ink. And once I have the ink on all 4 coasters, I did leave it to dry overnight, and it was still kind of wet, so I would probably go over it with a hair dryer the next time to see if that dries it quicker. And after everything was dry, after the ink was dry, I did spray a Rust-Oleum clear matte coat on top, and I let that dry, and then I put a coat of polyacrylic on top of that. So I'm applying some pressure to the stamp, and I'm just holding it with one hand and then applying pressure with the other. Didn't these turn out awesome, guys? Look at that fine detail of the leaves on there. I love it. So now after I let that ink dry overnight and applied the Rust-Oleum clear matte coat, I'm applying the polyacrylic just to make sure that this print is sealed in nicely. Well guys, here's a final look at all of today's projects that we worked on. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite, and don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell for more videos like this one. I hope this video gave you guys some inspiration for some fall projects for around your home. And until next time guys, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.